Hello again, everyone. Alex Wiseman here, talking about the syllabus for CIE 401, Globalization and Contextualization for the spring 2014 semester. We have just spent some time talking about participation and discussion leaders as part of the assignments for the class, and next we're going to talk about the midterm discussion essays. You must develop and write 2 midterm discussion essays connecting one of our required readings, Preschool in 3 Cultures, to first, globalization, that's essay number 1, and second, to contextualization, that's essay number 2. How you do this is completely up to you, but you should think carefully about how you will make these connections and how you will use the required readings and class discussions and content as evidence for your points. I want to emphasize that I am available to talk about how you might construct your discussion essays. But as I've said in this first paragraph, how you do it is up to you. During the first few weeks of class, I will propose, as we're discussing things, several topics for possible midterm discussion essays, or you may propose your own issue or problem to be addressed in your essays. The most important thing to remember, though, is that Essay 1 must focus on issues of globalization in Preschool in 3 Cultures, while Essay 2 must focus on issues of contextualization. So I'm asking you to link this book that we're reading with the other required readings we're looking at that highlight globalization and contextualization. Please note that the maximum length for each of the 2 discussion essays is 5 pages, single-spaced, Times New Roman 12-point font. I'm being very specific because I want you to know that there is a limit to how much I'm willing to read on these. Essays that exceed this page length or do not match these formatting requirements will neither be read nor graded, so please pay attention to that. Okay, a discussion essay should focus on purposefully selected readings from each of the 2 parts of the course. And you'll see from the syllabus that there are 2 parts of the course that will be covered by the time the discussion essays are due. The first requirement is that you make clear that you have done the assigned readings and attended the class discussion or lecture. This does not necessarily mean a summary of the main points. Each essay could concentrate on a single point. Beyond this requirement, the essay may raise questions, connect material from different sources, or incorporate relevant experiences that illustrate or run contrary to some aspects of either globalization or contextualization. The discussion questions from your reading memos, if you're doing those, or case study discussions, if we're doing those, may serve as inspiration for your discussion essays. But the bottom line is that these essays should encourage higher levels of intellectual engagement and active learning on your part. Your essays will be graded not on the conclusions you draw, but on the way you handle the topic and support your discussion points. Your grade will be based on the following criteria: how clearly you state your position on the topic, how well you demonstrate your familiarity with the topic, how well you employ the relevant terms, concepts, problems, and arguments that have been discussed in class, how effectively you support your views with effective arguments and appropriate evidence, and how clearly you present your ideas. Now, I'm going to provide you with feedback on your essays, and when I do, I will let you know what you're doing well. I'll offer suggestions for improvement. I'll probably make a lot of comments asking questions, and I'll assign a grade, all based on the following guidelines. I'm not going to read through these. You can read these for yourself in the syllabus, but it would be a wise thing, I think, to look at what an A range, a B range, and a C range discussion essay will look like. Any discussion essay will fall below a C if it lacks more than one of the basic components that's outlined in that C range above. Your essays are due at the beginning of class in week 8. Please submit them through CourseSite. Any request for an extension must come more than 24 hours in advance of that time. All right. That's it. It's pretty straightforward. It's a discussion essay, and it's only 5 pages long. Well, 10 pages for both of them together. So I think you'll enjoy it. Next, the only other assignment that you have is the NGO development proposal. This is your main project for the class. It is to put together a professional proposal for the development and establishment of either an operational or an advocacy NGO with a small group of your classmates. The reason why we're doing this as our big project is because NGOs embody the duality of globalization and contextualization, which makes them ideal for demonstrating your mastery of these dual constructs that we focused on throughout the course. The NGO you propose developing or establishing, one, must overtly recognize and embody the constructs of both globalization and contextualization. You have to make that obvious to the reader, that's me, through your proposal. Two, the NGO you propose developing and establishing must have an education focus. It needs to be connected to education and youth somehow. There are a range of things you can do, but tie in education. And three, the NGO you propose developing and establishing must be comparative, international, or, in my dream world, both. Okay? All right, so those are some key points. You will see that both establishing and running an advocacy NGO, a handbook, and the NGO handbook, which are both available on course site in the NGO development proposal section. I want you to use both of them as reference resources for developing your NGO proposal. They are not assigned as required reading for any particular dates on the syllabus. Right? So we are not going to specifically use them as required readings. But I can't imagine you completing this assignment without reading through both of them. Right? So it is highly recommended that you thoroughly read both of these as soon as possible to prepare for this assignment. You will work together in groups through the course to address an education issue or design a program to address a specific education problem in a country or region of your choice. Your issue or problem, however, must somehow be comparative, international, or of course preferably both. You'll work with the same group throughout the course. Each group should consist of about 5 students. You should join a group addressing a topic that most interests you. After the topics have been identified and the groups formed, most of the work on the group projects will take place outside the classroom. For group projects, students must work collaboratively, sharing ideas and approaches. However, all students are expected to make their own individual contributions to the project in their own words. Now, during the first 2 classes, I will propose several topics, issues, and problems for possible NGOs, or you may propose your own topic, issue, or problem to be addressed. Guidelines and requirements for this project will be discussed in class. There are already supplementary links and materials posted on the class course site page in the NGO Development Proposal section. There are several relevant dates for the group project, and these will be listed on the schedule as well, but I want to highlight them here. On January 30th, topics for the NGO development proposals are selected and groups are assigned. Right? That is important, so you need to have that all figured out by January 30th. In week 7, February 27th, I'm going to ask you to submit outlines of your NGO development proposals. In week 9, you're going to have your first team collaboration evaluation forms due, and I'll show you what those are in a second. In week 14, April 24th, that's at the end of class, you are going to be doing group presentations of your NGO development proposal. And then a week later, on May 1st, you're going to submit through CourseSite your final NGO development proposal and your final team collaboration evaluation forms. Right? Now, the rest of this information that's in the syllabus about the NGO development proposal I think is very helpful, and I highly recommend that you read through it. Right? If you have any questions, ask me either in class or ask me in another way. I've got what you need to include in here. I've got some kickers to get you started on what the definition of an NGO is, if you don't already know, etc., etc. Now, to ensure that each of you is participating to your fullest, You will all submit team collaboration evaluations twice during the semester. I've just given you the dates earlier, right? Please use the team collaboration evaluation collaboration form, which is an online form available on CourseSite, and complete one of these forms in a way that you answer for all of your group members. You'll see what I mean, including yourself, right? That's super important. Please make sure you do that. Okay, I think the last thing before we get into the actual schedule is to take a look at our required texts. You have 3 required texts. One is Preschool in 3 Cultures, Revisited, China, Japan, and the United States by Jotobin, Sei, and Karasawa. It's from 2009. If you haven't read Preschool in 3 Cultures, which was the original book from, I think, the 90s, early 90s, or maybe late 80s, mid 80s, you should. It's a fascinating book. We're going to be looking at Preschool in 3 Cultures Revisited. The original was 89. Okay. The other required book that you have to purchase is the Globalization Reader 4th edition, edited by Lechner and Boley in 2012. This is a behemoth of a book. We're going to read most of it. The cool thing about this is that each of the readings are 3 to 5 pages long. So you move through it pretty quickly, even though some of the reading is kind of dense. The other required book that I'm asking you to read is this one, The Schooled Society, The Educational Transformation of Global Culture by David Baker, published by Stanford University Press. It is forthcoming this year. It is not officially published yet. I happen to know David Baker, so I have electronic copies of all of the chapters. They're all already posted on our CourseSite page. So all you have to do is download the chapters. So 2 books that you need to purchase, Preschool in 3 Cultures Revisited and the Globalization Reader 4th edition, and 1 book that is all available online. I will pause and then I will come back for the last section or segment of our syllabus overview to talk about the class topics and reading assignments.